The return to Freddys, the full story introduction. Greetings. I have spent many days scouring through the internet, wiki pages and every source of information I can find on the full TrTf lore. Though most of it is my own theory. That being said, if I missed any important information, or you simply dislike my theories, comment below. But don't cause any unnecessary drama over it. Now, I've said my part. I hope you enjoy the full TrTf story. This post will be split up into different sections. Each section is a different part of the story, just to avoid any confusion. Exclamation mark warning, this post contains disturbing content, read on if you dare! Exclamation mark. Radsler The Gilbert Facility, 1942. Gilbert was assigned as the owner of the Gilbert Facility by the Japanese government to help with a severe super cancer which more and more people started to get sick due to it being very contagious. They had the idea of transferring a human's soul from one body to an object or mechanism of any kind of their choosing. So they labeled it as the Save the Kids Project, which was made to allow immortality from the dangerous super cancer. 3 patients numbered as patient 20, patient 48 and patient 63 respectively, were strapped onto hospital beds and knocked out with a shot so they couldn't feel pain during the operation. As they put the metal soul extractor tube on all 3 of their hearts and brains, the energy from their body began to drain as the soul began its transfer. Their heart rate began to drop fast and went straight onto a flat line. Just when the test was thought to be unsuccessful by the scientist, the robots began to awaken and interact with them. The test was successful, and the 3 patients were put into Fairytale Ty, Fairytale Collie, and Fairytale Sally respectively. They've also created a drinkable antidote called code_RADSLA__, but it was feared that this antidote would have caused the virus to be more dangerous. The progress on saving lives. 1943. Gilbert was very ill. Before his death, Gilbert said he had wanted to live on for eternity so that he could be there as people were being saved from the virus. So Ale, his son, had an idea. He would use the soul transporter on his father and have the scientists working at Gilbert Facility help him make a machine that would provide energy like no other to keep the mecha robots up and running so that many others would stay alive and not shut down. Gilbert's new body. 1943. The machine was finished at last. They had the father's body out onto the hospital bed and the machine hooked up to a bunch of computers and monitors, putting as much knowledge, power, and energy into the machine as possible. They couldn't tell whether this would work or not since the father was already dead. But suddenly the machine was activated on its own, had a voice, a mind of its own. It was a beautiful creation they had accomplished. The phone call. 1943. Ale received a phone call from a strange man named Allison who was the boss of this criminal mafia gang in America, asking what it would cost for them to purchase the machine from Ale. Ale then told him it wasn't for sale and hung up. This completely enraged Allison. If Ale wasn't going to sell the machine to him, then him and his gang was going to try to get it anyway no matter what at all costs. Pack your bags, Allison said, we're going to Japan. After Allison and his gang broke into the Gilbert Facility, they killed many scientists and workers there who were interfering with their heist. A good amount of the people who they killed didn't actually do anything at all, however. This dangerous heist also resulted in the death of Ale too, the owner of the facility. He was suffocated to death via toxic gas that was spread through the ventilation into where he was. Before leaving the place, Allison had found the code_RADSLA_ and drank half of it due to one of the side effects being 90% immortality. He and his gang left before the police arrived, and successfully fully stole the machine to America for money purposes. Lloyd becomes the security guard of Gilbert Facility. 1944. Gilbert Facility was in serious need of a security guard to watch over the place after hours during the night, worrying that another break-in like the one Allison caused might happen again one day. So they decided to hire one of these scientists named Lloyd to take the job, while another one of their scientists named Chai Tun would give him phone calls throughout his nights to tell him how to work his job. Chai gave Lloyd many mechanisms to help defend himself, such as mechanical body armor, a gas mask just in case any toxic breaches happen, even some asthma and toxic pills even this, adrenaline decreaser, that lowers his heart rate along with this computer system that allows him to block hacks. Shortly after Lloyd's first shift started, an anonymous hacker known as FBink hacked into the facility and hacked into Fairytale Ty, Fairytale Collie, and Fairytale Sally's systems and made them start to attack Lloyd, which he defended them off with his funnel door in his office. However, after a couple of hours, Allison was tired of just horsing around with Lloyd. He knew he was making hardly any progress into making his demise, so he then decided to hack into the failed revival of Ale Project's mind, making him a lot more extremely aggressive and violent this time than he was with the Fairytale animatronics. Ale then quickly dashed towards the player's office. Lloyd quickly spotted him before then shutting the door on him, but he had a feeling it probably wouldn't hold him for long. So Lloyd then decided to quickly open emergency security shelter shaft below his office, where from there he then went to the Gilbert Facility's sub-tunnel train subway system, where from there he then decided to go into the train to the storage and supply room, so he could hide. After he got there, he felt safer than ever. He ran behind the desk and just laid there for several hours, hyperventilating. After a while, he looked across the room to then see a large kitchen knife. He could either just end his life here and now, or he could save the company's reputation by making himself die as a hero. Doing so would likely save the Kids project. So he then quickly grabbed a propane tank and brought it with him, holding the knife close to it. He then started to hear loud banging sounds comping through the air vents. Lloyd then saw a handgun laying down on the desk. Lloyd then decided to grab it as it would probably come in handy against Ale. The noises then stopped randomly for seemingly no reason. Lloyd then put the gun back into his pocket and stood up. About to leave, the vent then flew off its hinges hitting the wall. Ale quickly lunged out of it, landing on top of Lloyd, trying to kill him. Lloyd was trying to get him off, but it was no use. Ale then picked up a steel pipe, stabbing Lloyd in the arms. He could do literally nothing but scream in pain. Lloyd then pointed his handgun at the propane tank and shot it as hard as he could before it then exploded. The blast radius then hit tons of other propane tanks, completely destroying the storage room along with Ale and Lloyd inside of it. Very shortly after this incident happened, the scientists came back and found the room completely wrecked with Ale and Lloyd's burnt corpses laying in the middle. They then called the police about this incident. The facility was then shut down by the authorities very shortly after this tragedy. Gronns Story opening of Guljaparadina, 1943. Fazbear Inc. created their first children's location where they had two talking animatronics, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. They were specially designed suits that Allison, owner of Fazbear Inc., liked to call Springlock suits. Both animatronic and a suit for a person to fit inside. Employment of Gronn, 1943. Gronn took the job at Guljaparadina as an entertainer who became the infamous Green Jester, being one of those employees who were able to take the job at both Guljaparadina and Fazbear Inc. He was a full-time, hard-working father with a loving wife and two kids. Eventually, a very close friend of Gronn's named Vincent also took the job at both locations, where he became one of the many employees who used to slack off during their working time. Gronn and Vincent were talking and slacking off the job as Allison was stalking and secretly watching above in the balcony in disappointment and anger. Luckily for Gronn and Vincent, they got a free pass just this once. But as for the other employees who were slacking off as well, most of them got dragged by the other gang members behind a secret wall that lies a horrible dark secret of slavery and enforcement, or get forced into one of the torture suits and die from head to toe, as the sharp knives and needles stab every part of their bodies, draining their blood and organs inside out, using it as fuel to power up the torture suits, giving them a new and torturous life of pain and suffering. Gronn and Vincent were not aware of what lied behind the wall, or even of its existence. Gronn and Vincent's attempt to get rid of Allison, 1943. Gronn and Vincent were finding Allison to be a little suspicious. Their curiosity got out of control as Gronn and Vincent started to quietly and stealthily follow Allison. Their boss was looking around in paranoia as if he felt he was being watched, or wanted to see if the coast was clear. Gronn saw the pattern he put into the brick wall, and the wall opened with a long set of stairs going down. The wall closed behind Allison. Gronn and Vincent went up to the wall and implemented the same passcode their boss had put in. As the wall opened, they quietly walked down the stairs that was covered in dry and thick red liquid they could only assume was blood. As they got to the last set of stairs, they peeked behind the wall without being seen and saw the lives of many being enslaved, whipped, beat up, and forced to work as the cries of the many echoes across the stairs. They were forced to worship this false idol called the torture device, that they saw was under construction and being forced to work on. As Gron and Vincent ran up the stairs, Allison heard the metal stairway sounds. Gron and Vincent quickly headed for floor 11 where the machine was located, and tried the best to sabotage the machine to where it would stop making torture suits built for slavery and torture. As Gron and Vincent damaged the machine, it would seem as if it stopped, but without realizing they only made it worse and corrupted the AI. Gron and Vincent went back to floor 1, and saw Allison standing across from them with anger. As Allison ran towards them trying to kill him, Gron and Vincent ran towards the other direction where the exit was located. They left the building, locked the door, and barricaded it. Allison pounded on the door yelling at them, and as Gron and Vincent ran away, they heard screams, the sound of blood splatter, and flesh being ripped. However, Allison remained alive and controlled the torturous beasts that roamed the facility. Accidental shipment of 2 animatronics 1943. 3 employees who worked at Fazbear Inc. accidentally sent off a shipment of 2 more animatronics known as Torture, Golden Lockjaw and Torture, Golden Kitty to the Goljaparadina location. The owner was confused about the delivery and even more confused when he opened the package and saw the 2 suits, as he never ordered 2 more suits for the restaurant and the blueprints for them were completely different from what he knew. To prevent any harm, the owner kept the 2 suits known as Golden Frankbert and Golden Kitty in a hidden bunker located in the underground, while promising that the 2 mysterious suits will be later inspectorated. Back at the factory, the 3 employees later went to floor 9 to investigate why their boss put that floor as off limits. In that floor they saw webs and dust everywhere, blood all over the floor, meat clevers, hooks, chains, knives, slaughter equipment, dead corpses, body parts scattered all over the place, and 3 torture suits known as the Slaughter Crew. When Allison checked the cameras and found out about their breaking, he went to floor 9 and started to beat him up with a rusty metal pipe from the ground. In an attempt to protect themselves and fight back at him, the employees entered the 3 torture suits respectively. This, however, failed, and the employees couldn't get out of the suits. As Allison laughed at their foolishness, he activated the deploy button and killed the 3 employees while the knives and needles drained every bit of blood and organs of their bodies using it as fuel, bringing them a new and torturous life of pain and suffering. Gron's car crashed December 23, 1943. Gron was getting ready to take his wife Linda along with his 2 children Charles and Jackson to go to GPD for an early Christmas celebration. However, Allison wouldn't let this be a normal day for them. Allison was still furious at Gron for tampering with the machine. In order to stop the creation of the torture suits, Allison was thirsty for revenge. So as Linda and the rest of her family were getting ready in the car, Allison unexpectedly purposely crashed his car straight into Grons, severely injuring the whole family. Several hours later, Gron and the rest of his family were healing in the hospital, all still passed out from the crash a couple hours earlier. After a while, one of Allison's henchmen disguised as a fake doctor broke into the hospital, where then went up to Linda's life support and then started to tamper with it, as ordered by his boss Allison, who was still thirsty for revenge. This of course sadly kills Linda shortly after he does this right on the spot. It was later announced that Jackson would have to be taken away into a foster family due to the fact that Gron could no longer properly take care of him due to his many injuries. However, Charles had the choice if he wanted to stay with his father or not, since he was old enough, so Charles decided to stay with his father. Gron's demise inside Golden Frankbert 1943. After the Green Jester went to his home with his older son after the incident that completely destroyed his physical state and sanity and went to meet up with his old best friend at the Fazbear establishment. After a while, he started hallucinating a younger version of himself that guided him to the hidden bunker where the 2 mysterious suits were kept. Gron's younger self then grabbed 2 hooks and nailed them in the hands. After this, Gron walked up to the Golden Frankbert suit, wore it, pushed the deploy button, and got crushed inside the suit. Gron, now resurrected as an aggressive being thirsty for blood in the suit, tried to kill Vincent, who witnessed his childhood friend's suicide. However, the boss and other employees managed to pull Golden Frankbert back and shove him into the metal storage closet. Opening of Frankbert's Pizza, 1944. After Goljaparadina closed down, the building was repaired and repainted into Frankbert's Pizza and soon made its grand reopening. For two of the animatronics designs, the owner of the place used Golden Frankbert and Golden Kitty's character design as a basis and gave them new unique colors. He also redesigned the blueprints since the owner was confused on how to build them with those designs. He made the new Frankbert and Kitty Fazcat without realizing he was technically making two 40% safer torture suits. Sadly for the business, it didn't become that popular as it was before. Due to the previous incident on GPD, their food was stale and the quality of the drinks were poor. Closing of Frankbert's Pizza, 1945. Frankbert's Pizza was shut down due to the unpopularity of the establishment and lack of quality in the food they serve. The return to Freddys 2. Opening of Fredbear's Family Diner, 1985. Fredbear's Family Diner was opened in 1985. The owner that ran the restaurant was Vincent. The new restaurant was successful. They had many new characters to show off on the stage, such as Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Kitty Fazcat, Sugar the cat, and Doug the dog. They had the old animatronics in the back room for storage and safekeeping. The only suit that was ever left in there was Lockjaw. As days went by, the popularity of the restaurant grew more day by day. TrTf 2 Night 1, 1987. Corthan Cox takes the night shift at Fredbear's Family Diner, and that they just delivered a music box to replace an old worn-down Sugar to keep the kids happy. At this point, the animatronics from now until the end of TrTf1 are possessed by BFP, with the puppet being his main form in TrTf1 since Lockjaw is too far away from Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. TrTf 2 Night 5, 1987. Fredbear's Family Diner is getting an upgrade after a child named BFP went missing. TrTf 2 Night 6, 1987. Fredbear's Family Diner closes as the animatronics started to smell and act weird and as they sell the business to someone. After 2 years, Vincent had raised enough money to expand his business and make bigger plans with the family establishment. Later, the restaurant was renamed from Fredbear's Family Diner to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The return to Freddys 1. TrTf 1 Night 1, 2015. As Mike Schmidt was about to quit his job, he found the news article about the pizzeria's animatronics being fixed, including Foxy, though the murderer of the 4 children and 1 missing child have yet to be found at this point. They had also brought back the puppet from the FNAF 2 pizzeria. But the building has yet to be cleaned. So, realizing he has to pay his bills, he keeps his job. TrTf 1 Night 5, 2015. Vincent talks on the phone while the Kitty Fazcat child is standing behind him. Kitty takes her revenge by stabbing Vincent with a knife to death. TrTf 1 Night 7, 2015. At the end of Night 7, Mike is eventually fired for tampering with the animatronics, general unprofessionalism, and odor. The place was fully abandoned after that. The return to Freddy's 3. Fazbear Fantasyland 2015. Fazbear Fantasyland was a dumping ground for the old animatronics. They were stored away and eventually decayed. The establishment itself was awful and closed shortly after it opened. The return to Freddy's 4. Preparation of Freddy Fazzy Runtime 2030. After the closure of Fazbear Fantasyland, the government has come to a decision to make animatronics legal again and gave the previous owners another chance to make another Fazbear establishment. They used the very first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza for it. TrTf 4 Night 6. During Blake's 6th night, Golden Lockjaw breaks into his office and stuffs him inside of Torture Golden Kitty. The suit then activates, instantly killing him. After the shift, the owners came back to see that Blake was dead and the Golden Lockjaw suit disappeared. When the police arrived and the investigation was put to play, one investigator named Carson, son of Jackson, came up to the owners and apologized for the loss and promised that he was going to make sure that Fazbear Inc. will never cause these crimes again. The return to Freddy's 5 story. You're an investigator, it's the year 2036. Everyone, but you step down on a cold case of the mysteries and murders of Fazbear Inc. You are alive. You are the child from the past. The torture suits from the past are active and are on the hunt for blood. It is all coming to an end. The unknown investigator sets the last Fazbear Inc. place on fire. They died in the blaze, but so did everything else. The souls of the children are set free, the poor souls trapped in the torture suits, and Gron can finally see his family again. TrTf Desolation Infinity Amount of Torture 2036. You are trapped in a torch device, you all controlling everything, and it's time for your demise in 3, 2. 1. TrTf the road that falls and plus underscore dollar and hash and dollar and hash at hash plus sad face crying face underscore plus underscore and underscore dollar underscore plus plus and plus dollar and plus plus and plus plus and plus plus GFFGJGJKJJGG and plus and underscore plus 86,655 plus 7668 plus plus